What is human trafficking and why is it important? Human trafficking is the exploitation of adults and children through recruitment or abduction by means of force, fraud, or coercion for the purposes of forced labor, debt bondage, or sexual exploitation. It is important because anyone can be affected by it, and the effects are detrimental to victims' overall health and well-being. Individual victims suffer physical and emotional abuse, rape, and even threats against self and family. And due to the amount of trauma they endure, drug abuse can also occur, and even death. To give you some perspective on how close this issue is to us, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, California had the greatest number of reported cases in 2019. San Diego, Los Angeles, and San Francisco are 3 of the 10 cities with the highest amount of sex trafficking in the U.S. So who is affected and how? Again, anyone can be a victim of human trafficking, but mostly women are affected by it. There is a 70% chance that women can be affected by this. It is very unfortunate that there is a strong desire for women and children that these traffickers will seek victims just about anywhere. It is said that 20% of victims are girls and 50% are women, and that only counts for the cases that have been reported. Trafficked women and girls encounter higher rates of physical and sexual violence, including torture abuse and horrible living conditions. Because of this, they are left feeling unworthy and not cared for, which can lead to serious mental health problems like anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, PTSD, dissociative disorder, and drug and alcohol addiction. Because of their living conditions, many victims can also suffer from untreated physical health problems, such as neurological issues, gastrointestinal disturbances, respiratory distress, chronic pain, sexually transmitted diseases including HIV, urogenital problems, dental problems, fractures, and even traumatic brain injuries. It is important to stay informed about different ways that modern traffickers entice people so that others can begin to spot these occurrences and stay safe. Nowadays, traffickers lure their victims with many different tactics, some including false promises of economic opportunity. This can be related to immigrant laborers and sex workers. A common tactic by traffickers is using or threatening to use violence, which usually leads to victims giving in for fear of the possible dangers or being abducted. Other traffickers have found more emotional ways of manipulating people, such as asking for help. An example of this would be a man comes up to you in the parking lot asking for your help with his car that's quote-unquote over there. And there are plenty of other cars and even stores around available to help him. So anything that comes off suspicious or doesn't quite make sense, avoid it. Trust your intuition. If you feel something sketchy is going on, leave the situation immediately. Another newly discovered tactic is leaving things like books, balloons, or anything really on cars so that you get distracted and traffickers can execute their plans. We can't get tricked by these traffickers who think they're smart, so always remember to get in your car first, lock it immediately, and leave the location before further inspecting your vehicle. Here are some other things to remember. Always be aware of your surroundings. Try going out in groups rather than alone, especially in places you aren't familiar with. And if speaking to people online, don't meet them alone. Go with someone else even if it's a public place, because you really never know. And always let someone know where you're going, maybe even share your location with them. Another thing is to avoid walking by or parking next to stopped vehicles, especially bigger ones with tinted windows. And lastly, own your walk. Avoid showing fear as hard as that may be, and be willing to fight for yourself and others. So what are people doing about it? There are counter-trafficking projects currently implemented by the government, one including the 3P program, which works on preventing, protecting, and prosecuting the issue. They prevent human trafficking through public awareness, outreach, education, and advocacy campaigns. They protect and assist their victims by providing shelters as well as health, psychological, legal, and vocational services. And they prosecute human trafficking by providing training and technical assistance for law enforcement officials such as police, prosecutors, and judges. Some other resources for victims, specifically from California, include the Operation Safe House, which offers long-term shelter and outreach services to runaways, homeless, exploited, and other youth in crisis. Safe House serves as a co-chair of the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force to ensure comprehensive care to all trafficking victims. Their number is 951-351-4418. Motivating, inspiring, supporting, and serving sexually exploited youth, also known as MISSY, is a survivor-centered, trauma-informed organization confronting the commercial sexual exploitation in Oakland, Alameda County. Their number is 510-251-2070. And lastly, Waymakers, a comprehensive service to adult and minor victims of international or domestic trafficking involving commercial sex or forced labor. This is available to anyone who was victimized in Orange County or who is currently a survivor in Orange County. Their number is 949-250-0488. So what can you do about it? You can stay informed and spread the word, volunteer and support anti-trafficking efforts in your community, and become an active member of your community by reporting any suspicious activity that could be related to trafficking. Or you can text help or info to 233-733. Use your voice and be a part of the change. Bring an end to human trafficking.